Hi guys, we are Jure and Matjaž. We are from Zemanta. We are web engineers here that take care of our dashboard. And in this talk, we'll present the Angular CDK library or Angular Component Development Kit library, and more specifically, we'll focus more on portals, which is a component part of this library. So, firstly, what is Angular CDK? You probably mostly know Material Design. Every other app is using it on the internet, I think, and most of the Android apps use this design system to style their client applications. It's like a new version of Bootstrap, and it's really cool if you need a quick way to set up a UI, because they support a lot of different common design patterns that are already implemented in Material Design. But there's a problem with this library, and that is that behavior and styles are really tightly coupled. So, for example, if a company wants to use these predefined components, well-tested components, they can, but then they have to always override the styling to match the company-wise styles. And Google recognized this problem, so they decided to extract behavior and functionality from Material Design into a separate library called Angular CDK. And this is a component development kit because it offers us the possibility to implement our custom components using the Google's APIs or their common UI patterns that they developed. We can use and just apply our styling or a few changes, and we can come up with really powerful custom components. For example, some of these design patterns that you get when installing the Angular CDK is the drag and drop, which is not the most trivial thing to implement, but they provide this unstyled functionality that you can use and create different drag and drop scenarios, components in your system. Or, for example, virtual scroll is also a widely used pattern, and you get this, again, unstyled, but with all functionality supported component. And one of these things, these common UI patterns that we need to create custom components are also the portals. And in this talk, we'll focus just on this pattern. We'll have a short demo, and then we'll present some use cases, some case studies, how we used portals in our system to implement powerful custom components.
Okay, cool guys. So portals, right? Well, in theory, portals are a piece of UI that can be dynamically rendered to an open slot on the page. And that's it for theory for today. So let's move on. Yeah, so basically when we are using portals, we must know two concepts, let's say. The first one is the portal, which is actually a template or a component, right? And the second one is the portal host. So this is actually the spot on the page where this portal will be rendered. Okay? So before I start with this short live coding, I would like to show you the services and types that I'm going to use. So from Angular CDK portal, we are going to use CDK portal DOM portal host. And from Angular core library, we are going to use component factory resolver, application ref, and injector. So if you guys ever try to implement dynamically rendered component, I think that you came across with those services, especially the component factory resolver. So, demo. If you guys have any questions, just please interrupt me, and I will try to explain in details. Okay? So, first of all, I would like you to explain what are we going to build with portals and why. So this is our dashboard, our DSP, and one of the features is the inventory planning. The inventory planning itself is built in Angular, while the rest, for example, of the application, like our header up here, is an Angular JS component, right? So we have this hybrid application. The main view, so the shell of it, is in Angular JS, and then through UI router, we are then injecting components into our main container. And one of them is a downgraded component from Angular, which is inventory planning. Okay, so as you can see here, we have some let's say divs on this page, and one of them is having these two buttons, the export and the front-end guild button. And this button is the one component in our demo. And what we are going to do is to render this button not in this inventory planning feature, but on the header of our application. So we will basically, with portals, we will somehow move the Angular component into an Angular JS domain without coupling the two of them. So we will not downgrade this action component and then use it in Angular JS template, but we will do this without the coupling with portals. Okay. So first of all, what we need to do is actually import the CDK library to our application. The second thing that I already did is I include some dependencies to our applications. And what I'm importing is the portal module from Angular CDK portals. Okay? So now we can use all the directives and all the services from this library. Okay? And in our feature, the inventory planning, okay, we already have an inventory planning action. Okay, and as you can see, I will just put it that way. So Control B. Okay, so as you can see, so we have this button that was rendered here. Okay, and what we do is like we catch the click event, and for each click we execute a function. Okay, and this function is then implemented in the appropriate controller. Okay, and what we are going to do simply is just to log something in the web console, right? And so let me just do here. Okay, open the console on one page like that. Okay, and now when I press this, oh, it works. Cool, I'm so happy. So when I press this button, we see the text in the console, right? But what we are going to do now is to extend this component with portals so that this button is going to be rendered in the Angular JS scope domain, so here in the header, and we will see then what are the benefits of it. So first of all, I need to include some directive from the portal module, right? And to do that, I will just create an ng container element, okay? So we know that the ng container is just a dummy element, but in this case is very good for us. So just a second, like that, and then just, okay. Cool. And on this ng container, I will put this directive, right? The CDK portal. And now what I'm going to do, I will use after my view child, right? And with this view child, I will try to get the reference to my element, so the CDK portal. Okay, like that. Okay, and I will just call it portal, which is of type CDK portal. Okay, cool. The second stuff, what I need to do is to declare my host, my portal host, which will be of type DOM portal host, right? Cool. Now, what I need to do is to implement some interfaces. First of all, I will implement Angular lifecycle hooks like the after during it and the on destroy. I will also tell why. Okay. Now I need to implement those interfaces. Implement all undefined interfaces, right? So like that. For example, under here. Okay. And now what I need to do is to initialize my portal host. And how I'm going to do this is really simple. So my host is a new instance of DOM portal host. Okay. If you guys have any questions, just please ask. And this DOM portal host needs some parameters, right? The first parameter is an element, a DOM element, which will be connected to this host. So we need to create this connection, and this connection will then present our place on the page where the portal will be attached to. Okay. So and for that, I will use DOM API. And for example, I will use this method get element by ID. And for example, for instance, I will use I will create, okay, an element with a specific identifier. For example, XAMPP action. Okay. Now I need to pass it a component factory resolver, application ref, and an injector. Okay. And so because we are in Angular, we have our dependency injection, so everything I put in the constructor, it will get resolved by Angular, okay? So first what I need is a component factory resolver from Angular core library, okay? So component factory resolver, right? Then what we need is an application ref, ref. Next thing, we need an injector, right? Okay, and that's it. So now I can simply put those injected services into my DOM portal host. So first of all, I need the component factory resolver. Then I need my application ref, and then I need my injector, okay? And now I have my DOM portal host initialized. So the next thing that I needed to do is just to attach my portal to this created host, okay? So what I do is like host.attach what my portal, right? Cool. And that's it basically. On destroy lifecycle hook, what I'm going to do is just when this component will get destroyed, I just needed to detach the portal from the host, and that's it. So I just say .host.detach, and that's it. Okay, so that my portal will get detached from the host. And then that is basically everything that we need to do to use portals in our application. So now if we rerun this, we already see some errors, okay? But this is something that we expect, right? So what the error actually says is like cannot read property append child of null, right? So what does that mean? So here when I created my DOM portal host, I said that I'm going to attach to create this host on some DOM element with this specific identifier. But, okay, this element is not created yet. So what I'm going to do, like I said, we are going to our Angular.js application, okay? We will open this component that represents our header. Okay, so this one. that represents this component here. Okay, this is, like I said, Xen header. Okay, and in this component here, in this template, I will create a simple div, and I will assign to this div this identifier. Okay, and that's it. And now, if I go to our dashboard, hopefully we can see that now our button, so this Angular component, is rendered in the header. You see here, it's not anymore down here, but it's rendered on the header. And whenever I press this button, you can see that the function is still executed in the scope, in the Angular scope, more importantly, in the component itself. So inventory planning action component, like here. So pretty much useful, right? For example, for instance, you can imagine that you have like several views, like inventory planning, and each of these views needs to render different actions in the header. Okay, and for example, when we implement components, we don't actually want to really couple them together. We don't want to do that. And this is, for example, one approach to achieve such a design. And one other stuff.
Sorry, can we ask a question? I want to ask a question, please.
Of course.
What is the benefit using this type of pattern, like using portals to apply Angular 2 version components into places where Angular.js is rendered, than just downgrade the component?
Well, if you downgrade the component, you still need to, for example, here in this header component, okay, you still need to use this downgraded component, right? So I will need to, for example, implement here Xen inventory planning action, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. But with this approach, we don't have to do anything of that. We just defined, like I said, a placeholder, okay, and each component, for example, in Angular scope, can define its own actions that are going to be placed on this element. So we don't need to downgrade them. We don't need to import them. Nothing. Okay. So I see here here is the main benefit of portals.
And just a quick note: it's not really that connected to Angular.js. You could have only Angular app.
Yeah.
And if you imagine you have an app shell with the header, and you want each feature to expose different actions inside the header. And if you would want this to achieve this, you would have to have some ng-ifs in this Xen header template. And you should check if you are on that feature, then show this button. But in this case, you just create a container where each of the views can render whatever it wants. So I think that's the main pattern here that provides to be useful when building applications, even just application or whatever.
Yeah, here is just an example. I just wanted you guys to show you that it's really easy to connect components from Angular to Angular.js, okay, without downgrading them and other stuff, okay? Cool. So the next thing that I want to do is really quickly is to extend this component with some nice, some easy approaches, so that this component can be even more reusable than it currently is. Because now this component is tightly coupled to this button and to the handle click, right? So what I'm going to do is to use projection, Angular projection. So I will just put here ng content. Okay, everybody familiar with this? Cool. And now I'm going in the inventory planning view, and I will paste this code inside this template, right? I don't know what I did now. Okay, cool. Like that. Okay, cool. And what I'm going, so now the handle click needs to be created inside the inventory planning controller and not in the inventory planning action. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just cut this code here. So now you can see that we have a really generic reusable component. It's not coupled to any specific logic, just portals. Okay. And I can now paste this code of handling the click function in this specific inventory planning view controller. Okay. And now, if everything will work as expected, so now when I click on this button, you can see that the action is executed in the inventory planning view controller. So through projection and then portals is displayed on the header, but the scope, it remains the inventory planning view. Okay? So now, as you can see, we actually implemented a pretty much reusable component with the usage of portals. I hope that the demo was interesting, that you do learn something new. And now let's move on to, a real usage of portals, which will be presented by Jure. Go on.
Okay, so we showcased the power of portals in this quick demo so that you can use projection and everything you want in Angular, and the library takes care of all the messy wiring of the things that you have the same context of executing your functions and stuff like that. And now we'll show you how we use this portals component to implement our inline editing feature in the data grid that we have. So if you take a look at the actual dashboard, how this component looks.
Okay, just a second. Relaunch here.
So in each line, there are several fields that are editable. In this case, we can edit a bit modifier. This is just a value that increases or decreases the bits for this specific ad when our autopilot is running its optimizations. And the interesting thing here is that this form is rendered inline, but not always. If there's not enough space, so let's say you are a mobile device, the same form gets rendered inside the model window. So this demo, or this use case will show how we use portals to implement the custom model window. And why we implemented a custom model window is because this is probably not a really widely used component that we could just install with NPM and that would work great in our application. But we quickly managed to implement a custom component because Angular CDK took care of all the difficult parts. So this is the representation of our row, which contains many cells. And one of these cells is a bit modifier cell component. As you saw, bit modifier cell displays a read-only value, so the percentage of bit modifier. And when the user clicks on a toggle, a bit modifier edit form is shown in inline or model window, depends on the screen size. So the first intuition would be to, just include the codes for rendering the edit form inside the bit modifier cell. But this could get messy really quickly because, at least in our opinion, bit modifier cell shouldn't care about positioning the edit form. It should just provide the read-only value, how to draw it, render it, and which form to render. But that's it. Another component should take care of actually rendering the form inside the model window. And that's why we introduced an editable cell component, which basically just wraps our read-only value and bit modifier edit form, and based on the mode, read-only mode or edit mode, displays the correct part of the projected content. And because we need to support the edit form on smaller screens too, this model window, this form should be rendered in a model window. And here, one consideration that we have to take into account is that our grid container is a virtual scroll container which uses overflow hidden property in CSS. So whenever you want to take over the page, you need to escape this container. And the only way to do it is to actually put your edit form or model window outside the container. And this is exactly what we used the Angular CDK portals to achieve. So what we did is that we rendered, we took the form and appended it to body in our application. So we achieved this by using this simple template code, which is simplified but should get the point across. Our editable cell has two ng-content components, which render either read-only value or edit form. And it also wraps this read-only value in a nicely styled span with a button to toggle the edit mode. I think there's nothing complicated. One thing to note is, and here is that the second container, or the second ng-content component, is wrapped in a CDK portal container. And we'll see on the next slide why we need this. So this is like completely copied code from what Matjaž showed in his demo. We first get a reference to this container, to this CDK portal container. And after viewing it, we set up also the portal host. In the previous example, in the demo, we said that we want to render we want to set up the portal host in our header. In this example, we wanted to set up the portal host on our body because we just wanted to take the content from our hierarchy in grid, data grid, and render it at the end of our body content. So we set up a portal host, and then when user clicks on edit mode, we just attach our edit form portal to this host, and then we calculate the positions of the elements. But that's not really a test for portals. The main thing here is to showcase how we use portals to implement model windows. And in the same way, you can do a lot of your custom components, as I said before. You can rely on Angular CDK library to take care of all the nitty-gritty details, because creating a model that is injected in a different part of the app on the body, it's not so trivial. You have to dynamically render the components. But here, this is all the code that you need to create a model window. It is completely customizable, and it's completely specific to our use case. So this will conclude our presentation of Angular CDK portals. Again, if you have any questions, now's the time.
I have a question.
Okay.
I'm like IE browser, a little delay, sorry. Did you use any other feature from the SDK in the Z1 dashboard?
Currently, we are just using portals.
But we'll probably use, when we'll start rewriting some of the drop-down components in our system, we'll want to make them virtual scroll, to
Behavior.
use virtual scroll, and we will try to use the Angular CDK virtual scroll.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Bye bye.